Magic Bollocks, I may have too many things opened up right now. I'm going to start shutting a couple things down. Stuff seems a little bit slow on my computator. So I'm not going to be monitoring anything as soon as I send the Twitter link off to Common Sense, who will be a wee bit late today. I probably won't be monitoring anything at all outside of the chat. Good to see everybody here today. We're going to get into a little bit of seriousness here in just a moment. But Magic Bollocks, if I may have 3 minutes and 22 seconds, I just want to prove to everyone that oh, Danny boy, that just struck me at the end. I don't know why I said, oh, Danny boy, the pipes are pumping. But as soon as I was done with the thing and put it on YouTube, I was like, Danny boy. I even typed into Google. I was like, yeah, Irish. I knew it. Fuck, why did I say that? And so, so anyway, here you go. If I could impose on that short amount of time, let's see if I get this to work. And then we'll get on to the show proper. See if we can, I will try to make you cry. And Magic Bollocks will balance that off and make you laugh until you urinate your pants. So kick back.
Well, good evening, everybody. Hope you're all feeling well. I'm trying to see who's actually in tonight. Oh, we've got RPR. Oh, thank God for that. What would we do without the Welsh? And who else we got? Have we got Susie Sexbox Monkey? Is she here? I can't see. Oh, don't tell me she's not. I'm going to be well gutted if she isn't. Participants. Mole. Hello, Mole. Nice to see you again. And who else? My participants is playing up tonight. Anyway, welcome to the show. Tonight, me and Mr. Ogre are going to be discussing very, very many interesting topics along the lines of dead bodies, animal vivisections, and possible alien abduction involving anal probing with a very long finger. But we'll be discussing that after Common Sense has turned up, because apparently he has experience of this situation. Oh, here we go. I can see everybody now. Hello, Mr. Bartley. 058. I'm sure you're going to be asking me to do all sorts of unusual and foul things to you again. Ferret Talks, hello, how are you? RPR.
All right, you maniac, I'm playing the bloody song. I believe it's called The Scotsman's Kilt. A Scotsman clad in kilt, he left the bar one evening fair, and one could tell by how he'd walked, he'd drunk more than his share. He stumbled on until he could no longer keep his feet. Then he staggered off into the grass to sleep beside the street. A ring-ding-diddle-diddle-hi-di-hi, ring-ding-diddly-hi-ho. He staggered off into the grass to sleep beside the street. A pair of young and lovely girls just happened to come by, and one said to the other, with a twinkle in her eye, see yonder sleeping Scotsman there, so strong and handsome built. I wonder if it's true what they don't wear beneath the kilt. Ah, ring-ding-diddle-diddle-hi-di-hi, ring-ding-diddly-hi-ho. I wonder if it's true what they don't wear beneath the kilt. They crept upon the sleeping Scotsman, quiet as could be, and lifted up his kilt just enough so they could see. And behold, there for them to view beneath the Scottish skirt, 'twas nothing more than God had graced him with upon his birth. A ring-ding-diddle-diddle-hi-di-hi, ring-ding-diddly-hi-ho, was nothing more than God had graced him with upon his birth. They marveled for a moment, and one said, we must be gone. Let's leave a present for our friend before we move along. So they left a blue silk ribbon tied into a bow. Around the bonny star, the Scottish kilt did lift and show. A ring-ding-diddle-diddle-hi-di-hi, ring-ding-diddly-hi-ho. Around the Scottish star, the Scotsman's kilt did lift and show. The Scotsman woke to nature's call and stumbled toward a tree. Behind the bush he lifts his kilt and gawks at what he sees. Then in a startled voice he says to what's before his eyes, I don't know where you've been, my lad, but I see you won first prize. Ah, ring ding diddle diddle hi hi, ring ding diddly hi ho. I don't know where you've been, my lad, but I see you won first prize. And just like Magic Box said, to do almost anything Scottish, you have to be half drunk. And boy, that's a tough tune. I had my guitar. I was going to just play it, but I could hear the cuts where I cut up the guitar and put it back together to make it sound right. Even when I did it like off air, I don't know why. But that kind of thing is the Scottish jigs, the little bar drinking tunes. You know, that imagine if you're in Scotland at a pub, some drunk fellas in the corner, you know, playing one all the time for a glass of mead or, you know, pint of stout or whatever, glass of rye. I can't do that. It's kind of like, you know, it's the bane of Jews. Maybe we can't dance, and we can't play Irish jigs, Scottish jigs. I'm gonna get hung. No, it's stuck in my head with zero. So, is there anything else? I don't know. The very long probing finger is just going to be stuck in my head for a while. So, is there? I
shouldn't have said that. I was putting you off, Mr. Ogre. There.
No, it's funny. That's funny. I just sometimes think, what would my mother think if she could see me now?
Well, unfortunately, I've managed to convince several in the chat that actually wasn't you singing, but it was my mother, and they've actually taken it as real now.
It possibly can be. Look, everybody hauled ass. They're like, they left like ravens, like rats off a sinking ship.
Thing is, though, the ones that are left, Mr. Ogre, thought it was beautiful. So you've now put yourself into a corner. They're going to expect a beautiful piece of music like that performed by yourself every show now.
Yeah, I guarantee you, the only reason we lost them is because they ran off very quickly to fire up their better computer so that they could record that.
Oh, absolutely.
It, you know, to repeat as, you know, forever, in case some of our inappropriate banter gets stricken down.
I'm more in the mindset that they're all quickly going to their wallets so they can all give us a few super chats for such a wonderful opening there. I think that's got to be at least £50 worth of super chats tonight for that.
Well, I don't know. I play tunes once in a while. I may end it with a song just to prove that they're not all Irish jigs. I can play some stuff that seems rather difficult to some people, and to me, it's rather easy. It's just that thing right there, man. I'm trying to think of some other ones around. There's a few. The Blue Star, the Sparrow. There's a few old tunes that I like, but I just can't seem to get them down. Kind of like limericks. I mean, I can remember those. Some people can't. Some people can't rhyme. Some people can't. Anyway, I'm done with that. So what's up, brother? This is what's on my mind, and maybe you could bring the lighter side to this, as we've obviously just tried, folks. That was Bollocks is much better at it than me, much more proficient. I'm just not sure what portion of what he says sometimes is legal and what portion isn't. We'll figure that out as time progresses, believe me. But so as he helps me listen. Bollocks, do you know that if you let people come in to an area, okay? I don't care what the area is. Just insert area here. And if you and I are in this area, we like things a certain way. And we've now made this area. Let's just say it's a square of grass, couple acres, man. You know, that we've taken care of it. The only way to keep it the way we like it is if other people come in, if we even allow that, if other people come in, they have to understand, look, we crack jokes, we drink whiskey, and the guy with the big beard smokes pot. We do our own little things here, but now we keep our little areas nice. We don't like a lot of whatever the rules may be, because there's always rules in life, no matter what. Even in an anarcho-capitalist society, in any kind of society, there's rules in life. If you don't set that down, if you're not firm about it, if you allow people to come into said area, now we're here, Bollocks, and we just see some people are coming by, and we have a couple extra beers and a nice, couple extra pounds of steak. We're like, come on and stay the night, eat. If they don't move on then when they wake up and move on to the next place to where they're going. If they decide to stay there and we allow it, we have two choices. They have to agree to live the way we do, or we have to agree that the way we live will change. And if we wanted to do that. And I know that might sound a little ambiguous, but now let me be really specific and see what you think, humorous or otherwise. I mean, look at Sweden is the prime example. That young man says some things, and it sometimes bums me out, but I don't care. You peel the orange, right? Some people, my dad would eat the orange peel, to be honest, but the normal people peel the orange, okay? You peel the egg. You don't eat the egg with the shell on it. You crack the shell, eat the egg. What's happening in Sweden right now is horrible. I didn't learn it from Aries. Just to hear it so eloquently repeated by someone that I don't necessarily agree with the way I see things, but some folks are going to consider my points radical too. So what do we do, bollocks? Is it all going to end up like, I should have looked it up right now, and I'm going to so that I could say the name, because it's not Reykjavik, it's something Uvik. I'm imagining that means city or something like that in Swedish. But there's, I believe, 2 or 3 cities now in Sweden where it's majority Muslim. The city is a Muslim city. It's a no-go zone for any woman that's not wearing a face covering, full face covering, not just a heads, get a burqa or whatever it is. Men cannot be drunk. If you happen to, in Swedish, anyway, if you happen to have a beer and you're down there, they'll beat your ass. Can't film them. Anyway, the whole 9 yards. Police stations that have been there, because that's what Horowitz was there to document this. Muslims came out, snatched his camera, beat his ass. Don't get the hell out of here. That's why the cops left. You'd leave too. We don't have very many choices, bollocks. We can see what happens. We don't have to wonder what happens. It's happened in France, in Germany. It's happening in England right now. Acid attacks, knife attacks, gunshot victims in London is skyrocketing because the people that are being imported right now en masse do not agree with your culture. They have an AK-47 in every hovel. So look, obviously I will go on and on and on and on and on. So there's a problem here that needs to be addressed. And as I see it, Scotland has been one of the last places that it seems like they're just weren't buying in. And now this S&P thing where they would, that's it. That's all I got right now, or I'll go for an hour.
No, it sounded good to me, Mr. Ogre. You had the right to no slight phone there.
We know what you're thinking about, you old dog. You stay the fuck away from my old lady. You
know, the problem is I keep looking to where your dog is and thinking someone should be sat there.
You just keep wanting to arrange the stuff on the settee is what you want her to do. You want her to go arrange the sheet on the settee, like she.
You know, I think I can have this stream last for hours and there'd be no talking, just ogling. That'd be all right for me.
So anyway, that was my opener. I didn't mean to abridge it at the end there, but what I would have done is kept going on other points and rambling. No. My main point is things are happening now, are being set in motion, have been set in motion, have already been accomplished. Their goal, look and see what their goal is. No-go zones, Muslims only, anybody else, zero tolerance. So that's it.
Well, depends on what you personally believe, or depending on stuff you've read or seen in the media, be it from the legacy media, as we like to call it, or the new media, which is people like us. Depends on what conclusions you've come to, depending on why all this is happening. Now, when we had Aries on Monday, it's obvious for a young man of his generation are coming to their own conclusions, which is fine. It's just some of the ideas they're suggesting are a little bit, too extreme for my liking. But in terms of like what's happening in Sweden with, I'm not sure the place you were necessarily thinking of, Mr. Ogre, but the one I'm thinking of is Malmo. That's the most obvious one, where they have a serious problem, especially at night, with no-go areas where police probably won't go, where fire brigade can't go, where women wouldn't dare be out on their own. They've got problems.
That's probably the worst one, the one you just said, Malmo.
Yep. And of course, they've now got problems with hand grenade attacks, which they've never had before. And all you've got to do really is actually look at the Swedish government, and you'll realize why these things are going on. They have possibly one of the most feminized socialist governments I think I've ever seen in the West. You know, it's got to be a vast majority of their government is made up of hardline feminazi politicians. And I've always said, and this applies to all over the West, including like Hollywood celebrities, politicians, anybody with a bit of money. If you're rich, you can afford to virtue signal. And what I mean by that is you can afford to not have to live with the consequences of all this that's going on. So if you're someone like Lily Allen, who's saying that the young girls in what's it called, not Rochdale, somebody in the chat will remind me in a minute, but where all those young girls were being raped by the Muslim gangs, she's gone on to Twitter to tell the world that it doesn't matter that they were raped by these Muslims because they would have been raped by somebody else anyway. Now, of course, Rotherham, that's it. Thank you, 058. Yeah, Rotherham. And she's effectively been hounded off of Twitter, for obviously coming out with this utter shit. And it's the fact that you get an MP like Jess Phillips who will come to their defense and say that, oh, it's good that they're standing their ground because we don't get proper debate anymore, without actually seeing the hypocrisy of what she says. A hardline feminist like her doesn't want debate. She just wants the attitude of, I'm right, and if you disagree with me, you're a horrible, hateful bigot.
Right.
And when you get to something like Scotland, like Dank very graciously brought up earlier on, what they're doing is what we're seeing with left-leaning parties all over the West. They know that their ordinary voting base is traditionally working class, the blue-collar workers, the people who actually go out and make the productive side of the economy work. Even though a lot of their jobs have been outsourced, they still are an important part of the economy. And they are the ones who are not rich enough to not feel the effects of virtue signaling, of having thousands, if not millions, of foreigners coming into their country and effectively changing their lives for the worst, be it changing it in their streets become overrun with people, their neighborhoods start changing radically. They don't hear English in the streets anymore. There's violence, there's muggings, there's rapes, there's God knows what else. And they're not happy about it. So what do? They start voting for minority parties or slightly more extreme parties. We had that in the mid-noughties in this country, where people started voting for the BNP until the BNP effectively fell apart. Not that the mainstream media didn't play its part in absolutely destroying everything that they did. And in fact, their old leader, Nick Griffin, pointed out back in 2004 the rape gangs that were going on in places like Rotherham and various others. And he was vilified at the time for doing so, called a bigot and a racist. And there, all these years later, he was proven to be totally right. Now, with Scotland, all that's happening there is that someone like Nicola Sturgeon has realised that the ordinary working class Scots are finally getting fed up with all this shit. And they are probably going to stop voting SNP because that's their policy. So what do? They, under the guise of bringing in refugees to help integrate them, start bringing in a new voting base. They know that they probably will be illiterate, they can't work, they'll be welded to the state. And people who are welded to the state tend to vote for left-wing parties because they know they'll give them forever amounts of free money, housing, you name it.
The same thing happens here, Magic.
Yeah.
Not with those people, not with that group of people. Carry on. I've got something else, but I can wait till you're done. Lord, you always do it for me.
Well, I'm just pointing out the fact that we can all see through what it's all about. I even noticed in Dank's Twitter feed, there were a few virtue signalers there saying about, this is just about integrating the immigrants we've agreed to take. Don't you believe in integration? And you can just tell straight away that it's just these arseholes in denial, wanting to make themselves look so virtuous when in fact they're just ignoring what is blatantly in front of them. These people are being brought in because they are a new voting base to keep those who are in power in power. That's all it's about. They don't give a shit about the societal or social consequences, about, you know, people having their, you know, wages undercut by cheap immigrants taking the jobs at much lower wages. They're not bothered about their streets and neighborhoods being ruined and turned into slums because they don't live anywhere near it. They couldn't give a shit. As long as they're comfortable, as long as they're getting richer, as long as their corporate backers are still chucking the money at them, as long as their ideologies are still being feathered, they're happy. And I really, really, really just want to say to them all, go fuck yourselves.
Yeah, I second that. And very quickly, a little comedic break here, if we will. I'm gonna do a real-time troll. In fact, I'll just start all over again so we can do this troll in real time. This is Gabrielle Pearson, okay, 28 minutes ago, replying to the ogre and some other people. And I don't know if you want to look at the stream, we can do that. But let's do. Oh, that's what he's replying to. This came through, and somebody, you know, Trump did this thing where he let the press in so that they could see him in action at the negotiation table. People are calling him an idiot, a moron, unstable, mentally unstable. Okay, and then they see him at work doing what he does, and then it's very difficult to say those things. I mean, if you want to try to pick apart tweets, any one of these people saying he's mentally unstable, Jim Acosta, any of these people, I could pick any one of them. You go look at their tweets, they're just, I mean, everyone will stand up for themselves if cornered. We're just that kind of people. So this came along, and these journalists are just saying how smart that was. And I'm not going to repeat it because I just kissed Trump's ass enough. Screw him. He's got everything in the world. He's whatever. You know, I ain't going to kiss his or sniff his throne either. He can kiss my Jew ass. But I sent this. Get in, pussy. We're making America great again, because it was like very proud of the most selfish. Because somebody else sent this. Let me get right real quick, very quickly. We got a lot of time to be sad, but you did very well at that too, sir. I must say that was very sober, especially from you, my brother. Nice, too. I shouldn't laugh. I can't hardly say your name without laughing. So here we go. Very proud of President Trump, not just today, but every day. Maybe a little overboard, but that's what we said. So this person comes back with very proud of the most selfish and narcissistic president ever. You think he did it for the public, but he did it for himself. And so I couldn't even. I mean, what do you say to that? He don't know this person. He has no idea who this human being is. He doesn't know Trump from Adam, is what I'm trying to say. So I said, get in, pussy. We're making America great again, this famous meme. And then this person writes back this 28 minutes ago. What exactly is there to be proud of in the USA? Fast food and obesity? Sitcoms and reality shows? Having politics controlled by money? Maybe bank crashes? Is it war industry and warmongering? Not sure what Trump will make great again. Face it. No one likes what you like anymore, bro. I can't even. All right, so look, once again, I can't be bothered to actually express in words what I think of this human being. That was as best as I could do, was that laugh. That's not contrived. That was, I don't know. I could not have controlled that laugh. If I would tried, my head would blow up. So this is what I'm going to do, Magic Bollocks. Yeah. This is what I'm sending him back. Do you see that? Well,
I think a better response would be just asking him.
No words. No, I will not do it. I won't even entertain it. You can say what you would say, and we can all laugh at that. But I will not entertain it. I will not respond to this human being with words. I can't be bothered. I did too. Magic Bollocks, but that's it.
Yeah, because I think the only thing I would have asked him was when you move into China, because if fucking America's so bad, you know, obviously a communist-run shithole will be so much better, won't it?
Yes.
Actually, no, I've got a better one. When you move into Wales.
Hey, she could be a Glaswegian. Oh, I said she. I don't know if it's a he or she. I don't want to misgender him. Zier could move to bloody Glaswegian. He should be a Glaswegian. Zier could be a Glaswegian. I can't even speak their bloody language, mate. And so that's what I'm saying. When they come back at me with that, the only thing, here's the issue. one good way to shut me down, Magic Bollocks, is to start assuming my motives and my inner workings. As soon as someone says, well, you say that because, game over with me. Now, don't get me wrong. If it's fun at the time, I will continue to interact. But you just completely erased yourself from the academic roles in my frontal lobes and my frontal cerebral cortex. You're gone. You do not exist there anymore. You live somewhere down in the medulla oblongata, and you give me a primal pleasure when I eat you on Twitter. Something like that. It's because it's the end there that got me. This is the best part. Trump not sure what Trump will make great again. Face it. Nobody likes what you like anymore, bro. Anybody out there like marijuana? Raise your hand. Just do yourself. Anybody out there like ice cold beers? Who likes a good blowjob? Does anybody like a really, really slow roasted lamb shank with rosemary and garlic? Or I could go on and on and on. There's people that love most of everything I like, believe me, including hot chicks, firearms, the drums, rock and roll, all of it, man. So why can't we all just get along? Rodney King, 1992. I'm sorry, this shit's so heavy, man. I want to laugh a little bit. Oh, you got it. You got something to laugh at, I'm sure. Oh, here we go.
Well, it was because of him pointing out apparently Trump is the most narcissistic president ever. I find that quite ironic considering what I read about Obama earlier on.
Well,
and this is coming from one of our ex-prime ministers as well.
Yeah, and one of his good buddies, right?
Obviously not, if he thinks he's a narcissistic, self-absorbed twat. I can't imagine who'd ever think that of, Obama, the Black Jesus.
Well, I can't say, okay, listen. I made some points in a video I did today. I'm going to try to carefully make them again. If you, with Occam's razor, for one, use that, apply that in your life. You can take that from me, or Occam, spelled with an O if you don't know. And the easiest or simplest solution is, this is the key word, usually the correct one. So very, very rarely, the simplest or easiest solution isn't the correct one. Sometimes, very, very rarely, it's a Rube Goldberg solution kind of difficulty. You dig what I'm saying, Matt? I hope that people are tracking with me, because I'm not trying to get too, I want people to think about it. I want everyone to think about this topic with us today as we make light and take time to crack jokes. I'm sure Bollocks will come up with something. We'll crack jokes, make fun of other people, and we'll think about this invasion that's taken place. But if we apply that, it cuts a lot of problems out of our lives. Now, Barack Obama, was he good or bad? It depends upon how you look at good or bad. To be very blunt, as you said, they're running out of voters. They're looking to, hey, this is a hypothesis. It can't be proved, but we can see it repeated over and over again, especially with these labor-type parties. And man, in the end, Obama was a slapping, screaming, bloody success. A success for the New World Order, a success for globalists all over, a success for Democrats that love to see the Paris of the United States of America, Detroit, Michigan. Not 200, well, it's probably 380 kilometers, 350 kilometers away from where I'm at right now. Used to be one of the most beautiful cities on earth, with one of the most wonderful train stations on earth that now it can hardly bear to talk about it. I really hope to have Dan the bass man, used to be on Steven Crowder's show as his and he really, if he's on, he don't want to talk about that. It's just like Dan the bass man says, no one knows what he's talking about. Anyway, if you like that, if you want that to go from Paris of the United States to slum, that they couldn't increase the borders any further because they were getting sued by other cities for cutting their borders to keep their levels above 1 million so they could get their government funding. They haven't been above 1 million in population since 2002. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just coming off the top of my head. So I'm not, just don't, quote me on that figure if you want, but it was close to there. I mean, Louisville, Kentucky, city close to where I was born, they've been above 1 million for quite a while. And that's a tiny comparison. Anyway, all right, look, what do the Scots want to see? Do they really want to focus time, energy, any kind of thought process or ministerial goose grease to get the wheels of justice turning over any kind of trivial things, i.e. revving your car in a racial manner. I know that wasn't in Scotland, but that was in the UK. Or teaching your dog to sig heil because it's going to lead to football stadiums of Jews being gassed. And some, can you imagine? Listen, if I may, I'm just trying to imagine, and I know I won't get the accent. I probably won't even try, but you're in court, and this man is saying, listen, what do they call him? Your Honor? What do they call him over there? Your Majesty or something, right?
Your Honor.
God? Just Your Honor. Crown.
Yeah.
Crown? So it is. It's your, I thought it was Your Majesty.
No, it is Your Honor when you're in court.
Okay, it's Your Honor. But it's like, do they wear the things, the robes and the
robes and the wigs? Yeah.
What about the prosecutor? He's got that on?
Yep.
All right.
Well, it depends if it's actually in court of a crown. If it's like with Danks, where he's just he's in a court with the sheriff taking a decision. I
mean, for now, Laura Southern said and this is the wig. This represents the wig. Laura Southern said that it was that it went on for the entire day of court. He basically filibustered. This is my robe, and so, Your Honor, there's no way that any sane man could look at that video and assume that he was doing anything other than trying to wipe and rid the world of every Jew that ever breathed.
I hate to be the one to say this, Mr. Ogre, but you actually look like an Arab judge now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to fathom someone pleading this case in a passionate way and saying, that there's no way, it's not possible that even though he started with, I tried to think of the thing that would really piss my old lady off the worst in the whole world. And I came up with this. They don't even have to, it's right, the horse's mouth spoke. Oh, Lord have mercy. Is that what they want to focus on? They're going to focus on that and racial revving of cars and hate speech. They just put somebody in jail because there was two fellows in a car. And I'm not sure if they went like this and displayed an Israeli flag, but they flew a flag with Star of David on it at a place where a bunch of Muslims were yelling, kill the Jews, run them in the ocean. People were, that's what they're talking about there. Jews are taking over. We must overrun them. They don't say that's hate speech, but the two guys in the car, they arrested them. They charged them with inciting some kind of violence or something to that effect.
Yeah, it is a bit worrying, really, and it is another wonderful legacy of that great spawn of Satan that we had a prime minister in this country for 10 years, Mr. Anthony Blair. He was the great architect of devolution, allowing Wales and Scotland and Northern Ireland to have their own parliaments. Now, at the time, it sounded like a great idea because of the fact that they were always moaning they didn't have enough representation from Westminster. So the idea being that if Scotland and Wales and Northern Ireland had their own assemblies, they'd be able to make laws and legislations that would much rather, better respect the, the locality. But all that seems to have happened is that the parties that have sprung up, be it the SNP, Plaid Cymru in Wales, and like Sinn Féin and the Ulster Unionists in Northern Ireland, with the sole exception of the UDP, I think pretty much every single one of them is quite very left-leaning, especially Plaid Cymru. They are effectively the Welsh socialists. The SNP are probably more New Labour, I would have thought, which is, left-leaning, yes, but definitely globalist. Oh, you're a surgeon now, Mr. Ogre. So it's an Arab judge and surgeon tonight.
Oh, this is a proper robe. It's not Arabic, but it's as close as I got in the house. It's got the blue tassels that on the four corners that signify holiness to God's law.
Yeah,
this is about as close as I got, but this is actually Jewish. A lot of this stuff is so close and intersects so much. It's hard to believe they want to kill each other.
Well, that's the thing. Don't forget, on your knees.
Jews don't really want to kill anybody.
Point towards Mecca and kiss the concrete, and you know that you'll be all right then, Mr. Ogre.
Dude, that ain't never going to happen.
Well, actually, you have got the beard for it, though, haven't you?
I've been working on that.
Yeah, if you actually went out into town, shouted Alan Snack Bar, and everybody would suddenly clear, wouldn't they? Just put on.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm terrified. The problem is, I was thinking of the towel, but I don't know how to do that. I really don't. I mean, how do they get that?
Oh, that's Ogre of Arabia, that is, isn't it?
Yeah. How do they do the thing where it's not really like that? It's more like, I mean, I don't really know. I don't know how to do the towel wrapper.
Do you know
I would like to welcome you to that. No, that's more like a Sikh, right? Sikhs are cool.
Actually, I think Sikhs this, with you dressed like that, I think this is definitely going to get monetized today, isn't it?
Sikh. I mean, yes.
I take that back.
And I tell you one thing: if you see something, you must say something to YouTube and let them know. If you see something that offends you, I'll go off. It'll sound like Ren. Did you ever see Ren and Stimpy?
I did. Yeah.
You did.
Yeah.
You can call them the naughties. We used to take something called life surgery, and it's this stuff. This thing. It came out. Put on some paper. We would eat it, and then we would watch. That was one of the things we did. We would watch Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah. To be fair, you had to be stoned to actually watch Ren and Stimpy. It did made no sense at all. You'd have like what was it? Stimpy, you fool. And you're like, hi, Ren. Yeah.
The best one, the absolute best one in my mind, was the Happy Helmet.
We didn't get that so much. Yeah,
Stimpy made a helmet that he put on Ren, and it made him be happy. But there was this. I mean, he's down in. If you remember the way they set it up, he's down in the workshop, and it's like it's showing these pictures of Stimpy there, like with a welder's helmet on, hunkered over with this light, this shadow, and the lights would be going. You know how they do. And man, there was a sequence for about 2 minutes that I was just going.
Yeah,
my pupils were probably there was no iris there. It was just pupil,
completely dilated. Yeah,
completely black hole, sucking in every ounce of information, seeing new worlds. It's like the end of Space Odysseys. No, I'm doing this. This is Cultural Appropriations Day, I guess, because it won't be long, man. They'll go from kilts. They might as well get used to it. I should send this to Count Dank.
Well, you see, you have the advantage at the moment, which is you still have the First Amendment. We unfortunately don't have that, and the Scots unfortunately definitely don't have that. And obviously, we do have Magna Carta, but it's sort of, it's not really enshrined in law. And ever since they brought in the whole thing about hate speech, it's just the most ridiculous and draconian law I think they've passed in this country in a very long time, because of the fact that who can define what hate is? I dislike people, but do I actually hate them? I don't know. If I say something disparaging about somebody I don't like, does that mean I hate them? I don't think so. It just means I just don't think a lot of them. I don't think a lot of my neighbors. I call them the fat twats, but that doesn't mean...
Hey, man, what are you going to do when somebody doxes your ass one day? If you stay on this, you got to be... I'm not saying it will happen, but if you stay on this long, if you have to be prepared for that, they'll remember this too. They just recorded that. No, it's okay. We know what you think. They know what you think too, though, is my guess.
Well, they don't know I call them that, but if they can't figure out who I'm referring to, then they really should take a long look in the mirror. But I mean, would that be classed as a hate speech, calling my neighbors fat twats? I don't know.
Yes, absolutely. Why not, man? That's fat shaming, brother. You can't fat shame somebody. And besides that, what are you trying to say? What is it, unhealthy? It's healthy at any.
No, it's not. I don't care about their health. It just insults my eyesight every time I got to look at them. They park right next to we do, and sometimes we have to try and get in the car at the same time as them, and it is quite comical. But, but I'm just saying, how do you define hate speech? What is it?
Man, it would be hateful to me if I was over. You say you don't care about their health, and I believe you. But if I live where you live, man, I'd be sitting there one day, like thinking about my taxes, and I'd see some bloke over there sucking on a fag. I'd just walk straight up to him straight away and be like, "Hey, oi, mate!" Bam! Right in the jaw, and just really quick, have a little note ready, like a sticky note. It said, "Thank you for not smoking," and stick it right across his forehead, and just walk on down the road like nothing happened.
Well, to be fair, Mr. Ogre, if you did it dressed like that, you would have every celebrity coming on Twitter and defending you.
Yeah. How brave, how brave.
Saying that obviously some oppressive white person was obviously looking at you in the wrong manner, and so you felt the need to culturally appropriate them, didn't you, with your fist,
with a right hook. Well, but the problem is, I mean, of course, when someone abuses themselves, there, it's the idea of the collective and the medical side, and so most of your medical bills for every human being on Earth, whether you're George Soros or you and I, it comes down to the last, I believe I heard, month of your life is 90%. Might have been 6 months, but it's somewhere in that window. It's 6 to a month. I read a lot of stuff and I get things garbled up, so I'm not trying to pinpoint or act like I'm a guru that has all kinds of numbers filed away. I'm not. I don't have it right up. But there you go. I mean, I wouldn't like the idea of people hurting themselves, and that cost me money because at the last part. And then what do? So because of that, you say, oh, death panels. Now they cry this, Magic Bullocks. Oh, anyway, I could carry on. But don't you all have some kind of welfare system there, like public dole or housing credit? I mean, I just heard there was a lady, I just read an article on Twitter. Somebody had put up, I can't remember where the article's from. Somebody may remember this too, who knows? But there was a lady, she's expecting a baby in May, been waiting 6 years in Sweden for an apartment. Well, a Muslim refugee came there. I think it was Syria. I can't remember where they were from, but a Muslim refugee came there and was there for, I think they said 3 months. They got 3 houses because this human being had 3 wives. I mean, you can't even make this shit up. You can't make that up. And anyway, Allah, blessed be Allah, peace be upon his beloved servant, Muhammad, shit be upon his face.
Well, again, that's classed as hate speech over here, Mr. Ogre. So you go ahead and
say what I want. I'm an American. I can say what I want. Allah, shit be upon him. He was a child molesting weirdo. The guy was now. Listen, he couldn't read. He couldn't write. What Allah? What? Not Allah. I'm sorry. That is their word for God. I didn't disrespect that. I don't believe. I said, "Blessed be Allah," and then I went right to Muhammad. Muhammad was the man. He's nothing at all special. Allah just is another word for creator or God. But I have to say this very quickly. Does anybody know who Joseph Smith is, class? Joseph Smith? Anybody know who he was? He's the founder of the, anyone? We call them now the FLDS Church. Anyone? The Fundamental Latter-day Saints, otherwise known as, anyone? And they prefer that because they don't like to be called the Mormons. That is their book or their kind of Bible. That, very interestingly, Joseph Smith, even though he was not uneducated, and he was kind of self-educated in a lot of ways, but he was very educated. He could read, he could write, did a lot of weird things with what he called a seer stone. He'd drop it in a hat and he went treasure seeking. He'd put a seer stone in a hat, look in there, and it would tell him where treasure was on your land. You had to pay him first, and it never worked. And to God, this is true. You can look it up. So Joseph Smith decides whatever he wants to decide. I believe that he wanted to have a bunch of wives and make a lot of money. So the angel Moroni came to him and told him all this stuff. I don't want to muddle it up with, well, what do you know? So now you look at Muhammad, same person. He just looks kind of more like this than Joseph Smith. I mean, you imagine you've seen the pictures. He's like a white boy with a stick rammed straight up his ass. Likes to hump 14-year-old girls. He was married to like 10 of them, so that's not a guess. And then you have Muhammad. Same kind of situation. Only he can't read and write, but he's out in the desert. Gabriel comes to him and orally gives him the excuse me, gives him this book. They orally passes on this book, and he writes it down. Of course, he's the arbiter of it. He's the arbiter of, except for the hadiths. And now, what do you got? You got a guy that's got wives. He beats them up. He likes little girls. Same thing. Why would we give any kind of credence to a madman? And I don't just want to go to Judaic Christian people and say some people, well, Moses was good, and these people blah 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 blah. But I mean, wasn't Gandhi pretty cool? Anyway, that's it. I tell you, this stuff gets me. Can't I be me over here? This is a Jewish robe. Can I be Jewish? Can I have my robe with my blue tassels on it once in a while? Pray before my God the way I like to without this ridiculous towel on my head.
Well, technically speaking, yes, you can, because the whole idea of sort of like the federal United States is with your constitutional laws is it's individual responsibility, and thus you can do whatever you want within the confines of the law. So if you want to dress like that, Mr. Ogre, if you wanted to go to do your weekly shopping dressed up like that, you have every right to do so. You might get a few funny looks, but yeah, there's nothing to stop you being like that if you want to be.
No, I don't think you have to put anything on to pray. This was actually a gift to me from a family. It's a long story, and I just gave you a couple. But I did wear this out in public a couple times because a boy that I cared a lot about was brainwashed into thinking he wouldn't go to heaven if he was seen, that people would be like people seeing him naked without this. And he was about 14 when he first took a robe off and went out in public. So when I went out in public with him a couple times, I wore one too. I was like, fuck it. I felt weird, but I just held my head up high and walked.
Well, yeah, and that's the whole point, is that you should, to an extent, be able to, well, not obviously not the brainwashing the kid. That's just
oh, it was terrible, man. Poor kid.
Yeah, that's just cruel. But you see, I think a lot of the problems with the West at the moment is we've obviously this part of the West, which would be like Europe and the United States, Canada, to a lesser extent Australia and places like that. Over the last sort of 50, 60 years, we've been encouraged to ditch religion, and with reasonable excuse, I suppose, in terms of there's plenty of scientific evidence these days to dispel a lot of religious text, and just the whole idea that apparently religious teachings is bigoted and doesn't take into account people with different lifestyles, such as, you know, homosexuals and lesbians, well, same thing really, and I suppose trannies and all the other, you know, weirdos there are out there. And what's happened is that when you take religion away from people, they tend to search out for something else, and that's where this whole social justice warrior nonsense has come from. It's people trying to find a new religion, something to believe in, something to follow. Because I think, in a way, even though we are all individuals, every single person here tonight and every single person out there alive at the moment and every single person who has ever lived on this planet has been a complete one-off. We're all unique. Every single person is different. There's no two people who are exactly the same. You might meet somebody very similar to you, but they will still be different. But we still are sociable animals, and we still crave a certain level of collectivism. Now, politically, collectivism is highly dangerous, as we can see in communistic countries or countries that have tried it, such as Soviet Russia, etc., and of course China. But we do crave social gatherings, social sort of meetings, being with people with similar ideas and thoughts. So we sort of, when we had religion, the Christian Judeo West, we always had something to follow, to believe in, some moral guidance. And since that's been taken away, people are looking for something to replace it. So politics, to a certain extent, political belief has become a kind of a new god to a lot of people. And that's why a lot of young people are so drawn to what they see as social justice, fighting the good cause against, you know, the horrible repressive state or the current system that currently rules over us. They think that it is like a new god to worship. And I'm not advocating for us to go back to all being hardline Christians or anything like that. But if we don't have something to believe in, if we don't have something to follow, people they kind of fall apart to a certain extent. A lot of people out there are atheists and they just get on with their lives and, you know, do whatever they need to do. But a lot of people need something to follow. Very few men are leaders, but most people are followers. So that's what they do. They follow. And if your leader is a bad leader or a very corrupt person who will lead you astray, which is what most of our leaders in the West have been for the last sort of 40, 50 years, that's the kind of path you get led down. And I honestly, if somebody was said to me, how do you think things can be improved in the West? I honestly say I couldn't tell you what the best path to be is. I know going down the socialist, communist, far left ideology is not the way to go, because we'll just end up in a totalitarian state. But going back to what we had before, I don't think that's necessarily the right thing to do either. I don't consider myself necessarily a Christian, but I do believe in a God. I believe in a higher being of some kind.
Well, do you want someone else telling you where you should put in that belief or disbeliefs, as it may be? You know, that I think that's the biggest question. It's not so much if you do or don't, or how that may look in your mind and how you interpret that and how you display that in your life, whatever. It's how would it be? How would you like, or how do you feel about someone else telling you this is what you have to think on that subject, or else?
That's right. And it is really, really difficult to fully grasp how the human psyche works, because of how we all, well, I mean, I said we're all different, and we all have different needs and different desires and different motivations. And like I said, the vast majority of followers, so they will be looking for somebody to guide them, to give them the advice, the instructions on how to live their lives the best way they can. And when that's not given to them, they do tend to get lost, and they do tend to search out bad, they'll end up searching out bad ideas and advice that doesn't do them or their, society any good. And I cannot believe it's that difficult for the human race to come up with a system that is beneficial to all. I know that we are programmed to be selfish, because obviously we want to look after ourselves and our close families, and we are competitive. And that's, again, a natural reaction, because the idea being is the strongest must survive, so the species gets better with each generation. But in the sort of state we're in now, we need to be a little bit more, we need to be a bit more logical than that. We're not just, animals anymore. We're not just hunter-gatherer anymore, looking for the best mate. The woman deliberately looking for the strongest and the fittest man who will be able to get the most food, find them the best shelter. We need to sort of work together in a sense that everybody is treated fairly and has a fairly good life, but at the same time not to let people, like all these foreigners who are coming in at the moment, just get away with taking the piss. So it's very difficult. I'm glad I'm not the one who has to make the decision. People can ask my advice, and whatever advice I give will probably be wrong anyway. But then I think the vast majority of people who would be asked will get it wrong as well, because there is no right or wrong answer. What would work for me probably wouldn't work for somebody else. And
yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact.
But maybe
it's when we try to squeeze people into stuff like that, when real problems begin too.
Yeah, but maybe the answer is that there is no answer. That you can never get that sort of world where everybody is treated fairly and everybody can have a crack at the whip. And we should just accept that, meritocracy should rule supreme, which is if you're good and you work hard, then you'll succeed. And if you don't, then you get nothing and you'll starve and die. I mean, it's the harsh reality of life, unfortunately, but, that's how it happens in the animal kingdom. And we are animals, after all. It's cruel, but that's just life, I'm afraid. You're muted, Mr. Ogre.
Oh, sorry. I was filling about with some stuff on the XSplit while I was listening. It's hard for people to grasp that, though. And a lot of it is that, with all due respect to the politicians and whatever, and I say that just like that, with all due respect, meaning you don't get a lot. The ones that go to that field, if you will, I don't even want to call, I don't know what it is. They call it a service, but they don't serve anybody but themselves. No, whatever. The people that become politicians are the hall monitors, if you will. The kid that just wasn't really good at playing cricket and whatnot and football, but he was really good at having the whistle and making sure that you and Billy weren't, scrapping it out over some kind of altercation on a line foul or something. You know what I mean? He was really good at that, like yelling for the teachers. Those are your future politicians. I think that's a lot of the problem in the world. Most times human beings don't need to be told what to do. The only reason they're being told what to do is because there's another group that thinks they have the almighty power to do that. I mean, there's many things that right now in the United States is given. I don't know if I want to go down that road because I'm not advocating like to not listen to the police or to disobey the government or nothing like that. But here's the facts. Right where I'm at, 150 years ago, there was a big river right over here. There still is a big river right here. And it was a logging town. And this place was long growth forest back then. And they clear cut it. It's still big forest now, but it's only about 150 years old. So they're clear cutting the forest. They're floating the logs down. They had a proper skid row. That term comes from where they would take timber and put it side by side to make a road. And they called that the skid. And skid row was what it was across the river. Town has actually moved because it had such a bad reputation back then. But when it was across the river way back then, there was brothels, everything. Anything you can imagine. So if I was leaving a brothel one early morning, swung up on my horse, not getting crazy or anything. Now I might be sweaving a little bit like this and take off. And the local sheriff, 3 o'clock in the morning, the local sheriff comes out and says, "Oi, mate, put your hands up." I may just go, boom, and shoot him for fear that it's not even a cop. And who's got the right to do that? Now, I'd probably just ride off and nothing. I don't know or maybe stop and say this is what happened. And I don't think anything would happen from that. Nowadays, I mean, and I'm using this as an example because everybody in the chat may jump on me for this. This is my opinion. Like yours, it smells like shit. It's just like the buttholes, the whole thing. So nowadays, what happens is a police officer pulls you over in your car. They're doing this in Georgia really heavily. I saw it on high impact flicks. They're saying that they know you're on marijuana. This guy 3 times already. They try to ruin these people's lives. They tested negative. It stays in your system for 30 days. If it's negative, that means they definitely weren't high when this guy, the only way he went by is he's got this piece of paper that says he went through this class and now he's an expert, if you will, at spotting people that are under the influence of cannabis, which is harmless. So anyway, I believe if you get in your car and you've had 7 pints, I guess it would be the officer's discretion if he wanted to shut you down. In other words, say you can't drive anymore right now at this point, mate. I don't know why you are, but it's probably crazy. And then set you on home. Yes, I don't care if it's 50 times. Now, mind you, if that same person, me, you, anybody else, crashes that intoxicated and kills somebody, I don't even think I would be against that being considered premeditated murder. So there you go. People would say, well, you're crazy because you don't think DUI should be illegal. No, I think DUI should be illegal if you do something wrong, if you've hurt somebody. And at the very most, if you're weaving and drunk, yeah, give them a ticket for changing lanes and whatever. But charging somebody anyway, that's it. There's my diatribe on that. I'm so glad we're not totally talking, but I think we could get back on that. I'm not sure what's up, RPR. Did you want to tell everybody what you feel about the Muzzies? What's going on?
No, not really. No, I just thought I'd just pop by, just to interact with the conversation that's going on. Sorry, I missed the last few minutes, but hey, I'm here, so I will probably pop in and out when things decide. And then when Common Sense Guy pops in, I'll probably drop into the sidelines.
I think he'll be here. I don't know how late it'll be.
I'm quite impressed, Mr. Ogre, because funny enough, I was thinking, get old RPR in here. Well, that'd be a good laugh, and you did it.
There's a few people. I keep it down to a minimum, just because I've been doing this for a year now. RPR has been around that long, I believe. And man, we'd have at times 7, 8 people. Once in a while, that's fine. But on an every day, if you look at those old streams, yeah, it was fun for us in the thing. But it was mayhem. It was just mayhem. Could never really follow any ideas or nothing. It was not. But anyway, yeah, I'm about ready to take this robe off. It feels a little weird. I think about that. I think that part of the reason we have so much problems is that, I mean, if you lived in a stone hut, okay, you live in a stone hut in the dirt, and you got your culture is that you ain't really supposed to fool around, unless it's with a young boy until you're married. I shouldn't go there. But, and here it is. You live in the desert and you've got to wear something like this with some robes and shit all on you. I'd want to kill myself too. What the hell? If I could also believe I was going to heaven and the 96 virgins and all that stuff, I mean, sign me up. What the hell?
Well, too much sun and too many goats, you're going to drive a man insane, isn't it, really? If
Yeah,
you think
buy the ticket, take the ride.
Well, yeah, if you think the most attractive thing you're ever going to get is, you know, a tan you cannot get because your skin's already too brown, and the most attractive thing you can see is the anus of a goat, really, there's not much to live for, is there?
That's
no, nothing at
brutal.
all. nothing at all. I mean, because you tell you, and then you have the imam saying, you know, that the infidel wants to destroy our way of life with MTV, microwave ovens, and beautiful blonde women. And we can't have that. We do not want to drive Mercedes Benzes, at least not you, and run around, you know, and have a good life. Can't have that. They want to infiltrate our desert dwelling, nomadic, strange, incestuous, homosexual, homoerotic, weird way of living. They're so they talk about homophobia and then they put it in Islamophobia. Okay. I would say this. And I even say this is not extreme enough. If you want to call something homophobia, you have to be afraid of it enough to drag it up to the top of a 7-story building and hurl it off kicking and screaming. If you do that, okay, I guess you could bandy around such made-up, frivolous words. But if not, I mean, come on, man. Islamophobia, that's almost sane. But it's not really. I'm not a fan. I hope they don't take over. It's going to be Wales next, mate. You're just kicking back right now, RPR. Wait till next year when it's like, Wales is going to import 75,000 screaming Syrian refugees with waving their bloody their machetes and stuff, screaming, we want RPR's women.
Oh, they can bloody have the women. They can have them with all my fucking blessings, mate. You know, I'd rather fucking have
exchange.
You know, I'd exchange, you know, the immigrants for the English women just to start overriding the English.
Yeah, but would you make them wear a trash bag? Would you force them to wear a trash bag over their head and stuff? And you know,
hey, look, you know, who looks at the mantelpiece when they're poking the fire?
Well, they could take it off at home, mate. You could take it off them at home if you wanted to. You could probably just cut a little slit in the back. I was just looking. There is some country, I can't remember if it was Syria, where they don't even look. Their women are covered. I mean, even gloves, and they don't even have the slit because that shows 2 eyes. They got 1 eye. They can only expose 1 bloody eye. It showed this lady in the market with bloody bag of bread under her arm with bloody 1 eye. If that's not sexism, if that's not that's a punishment. It's clearly they are punishing this human being because they're not born male. So it's like now you have to be tortured for the rest of your life. It is the desert. Wear this black nylon and you can only expose 1 eye. Make me some fucking falafel, you cunt.
Oh God, what can we say on that? Yeah, it's just.
Can I jump in here and defend Welsh women for a second? Because if it wasn't for the Welsh women, I'd probably still have my V plates.
And you probably wouldn't have experienced the best blowjob of your life.
Yeah, but that was from the father when I went to ask for what's called hand in marriage.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was not expected. I was expected to be told to leave the house.
Well, where do you think she learned how to do it? Yeah, I go down that road.
Well, if her father was giving her a blowjob, then I don't think I would have been asking.
No, but he probably had her practice on him, I think was the implication that I may have been making.
No, I thought you meant that I'd actually gone with somebody who was transitioning.
I don't know anything about Welsh except they have a weirder language than Gaelic. That's the only thing I know about the Welsh. They speak something that sounds stranger than Gaelic.
I
think you've got to get. Yeah.
I can't believe the racism. Go on.
Oh, sorry. I think there's massive delays here. Anyway, there's only 2 places in the world you can really go to see the Welsh language out of Wales, and that one of them is in Argentina, and the other is in Russia.
Oh dear. That's not something to be proud of.
That's
Oh,
yeah, it's a little place in Patagonia. It's a little place in Patagonia, apparently, and it's for some unknown reason they speak Welsh. I'm not. I mean, we're talking 6th century Welsh,
right?
And the same thing with this one little place in Russia. They speak the same Welsh. That's fucked up.
Are you sure, RPR, it's Welsh, or is it just people in an area that's so inbred that the IQ level has dropped so low? It's just like sort of Neanderthal. Yeah,
well, I reckon out there they're so fucking drunk, right? No one can understand them that much.
Oh, mate, it would be fucking Celtic then, wouldn't it?
That's what I mean. It's fucking Celtic. We know that because the Scots, the Irish, and the Welsh, all being fucking Celts, not like the English.
Binary Surfer saying that I'm talking about the Falklands, the Falkland Islands. So that's probably how they got around there. I thought maybe it went back to the whaling times. I'm sure Welshmen were whalers and whatnot. They would have been all around the world, and it makes sense for them to be in South America. I know it's strange that may sound, but Wood saying they said, many Welsh moved to Wales from the Falklands, I believe, and Wood wouldn't just say something unless he was pretty sure.
No, the residents on the Falkland Islands for years had a reputation of being well into their agricultural festivities, a bit like my cousins over the border, and it was. I mean, it was supposedly it was because of the fact that the ratio to men and women over there were quite unbalanced. But I think if what Wood said is true, it would explain a lot, wouldn't it? Oh dear, I can still remember an old episode of Spit and Image where they were talking about a son coming back to Port Stanley and introducing to his father his partner, and the father was shocked to discover he'd actually brought back a woman and said it was disgusting and unnatural. Yeah.
You got to give it to me. At least I can fucking take the fucking puns.
To be fair, RPR, the trouble is the race relation boards has never been on your side, has it? They've never come. Really. They've never come to Wales and said we're going to put a stop to all this prejudice. But like I told you before, though, according to the race relations board now, TAF is offensive and Scot isn't.
TAF? What's TAF?
Welsh. Taffy.
Yeah, a TAF is a Welshman.
So it's a derogatory way to say Welsh.
Yeah.
Well, no. Well, I mean, most Welsh people I know respond to TAF. I mean, I've got a.
But would it be equivalent to redneck or hillbilly, which also are kind of borderline? Some people refer themselves as redneck, don't mind being called it, or hillbilly, but it could be. Is it something like that?
I suppose
or
it could be described.
Yeah, it's very close to that. Yeah, I would definitely say it's very close to that.
TAF. Well, you learn something every day. I just learned what a snooging. What are you kissing? Making out with French kissing.
Snogging.
How do you say that? Snogging. Damn it. I'm trying. I just look up English jargon and try to get it in my head so I can use it once in a while and sound cool to the 70% English folks watching us right now. But say that again. Snogging.
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 Yeah.
Snogging, like egg snog.
Like egg snog. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway. How do you get that? Because the noise, the sound, snogging?
I don't know. It's just one of them many sort of British slangs that we have that we just don't question. We just use. It's like we call the toilet the bog.
The bog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. That kind of makes sense because you would, for one thing, you're pooping in there, and for another thing, when you flush it, it could go out to the bog.
Yeah, it's a lot of slang we have that we just sort of use and we don't really think about it, because obviously the best one of all is, of course, our slang for cigarette, which obviously could be a little confusing. Yeah,
I'm up for a fag. Yeah. Oh yeah.
But see, they got. I don't know why, but in the noughties, as you call them, Magic, that just swept the United States, and everyone knew what that meant. I did smoke for a very, very short time in my 20s, maybe for 6 months. And because I don't want to be cool, I don't even really remember. But That's what everybody called them back then. Here, fags.
But the
Give
one
me a
I was
fag.
quite surprised to hear Yanks use and actually understand was wank, having a wank, because for years,
having a wank.
For years, Americans had no clue what wanking was. So it could be quite a useful little insult. You know, you'd be a Brit be over there call one a wanker, and you could just see the confusion on their face, not knowing what they've just been told. I mean, the thing is, if you say it to any American bloke, you're not really insulting them. You're just pointing out something they do when, you know, the missus is out away on business or something.
Right. Yeah. Wanker, though. Where does that rate in, I don't even know how we got on this, but hell with it. Where does rancor rate on, you know, like a bad thing to call someone, I guess is what I'm saying. What a derogatory list, like the derogatory scale.
Yeah. I think it's about a 3 or 4. Wouldn't you agree on that one, Magic? It's only about a 3 or 4. It's not that high.
Well,
No,
what's a 10? What is 10? What's a big 10?
See you next Tuesday.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
What?
Oh, you don't know that term either.
Cunt.
Hang on now. See you. Oh, I got you.
Yeah, see you next Tuesday. Yeah.
When you said that, I was going to say, what, did these crazy Englishmen actually walk up to you next Tuesday? Like some Duke got hung on a Tuesday 500 years ago? Oh, man. I got you. Cunt. That's not really bad here. I mean, it's bad now, don't get me wrong, but that would be a 3 here.
But in England, they haven't quite got onto this one, right? In Wales, we can actually say cunt, right? And then following up, oh, by the way, I meant that with a K, which makes it more offensive.
Yeah.
Well, here a 10 would be cousin counting sheep fucker. That would be a 10.
Cousin count. That's got to be a redneck insult.
Well, because no, it's anybody, but yeah, I think you would hear that more in the South because you're doing 2 things simultaneously. You're accusing them of bestiality and incest. Yeah, at the same time. So a cousin counting sheep fucker, that would be a 10.
I suppose over here we would just call them cousin fuckers, which as actually a few places in the UK, probably like Norfolk, is a very good place where you can accuse people of that.
Oh man.
And not too far from where I live, they have is it Cirencester? They have the cheese roll in, or it might even be Cheltenham. I can't remember.
Gloucester,
isn't it?
Gloucester, yeah,
Gloucester, yeah.
Hell, I knew that. What do I should get some points for that. I beat the Englishman. Oh, anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I can never remember where they hold the cheese roll in, but it's obviously a very popular pastime. I don't know why, but there is a sort of a joke that goes around because every year there is an injury. Somebody will hurt themselves, somebody will break their leg, or they'll break their arm, or something like that. And there was one year where a poor lad broke 2 fingers and had to have them amputated, and apparently now he's only got 9 left.
Work that one out.
Okay, and I just got a message that
broke 2 fingers and had them amputated, and he's only got 9 left. That is fucking bad maths.
Yeah, Wood said the number 1 probably that's also a 10 just on its own. Melon farmer, also known as motherfucker.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I just got to tell y'all that Common Sense won't make it tonight. He just says, sorry, mate. Wait, I'm not sure because he says sorry, but this says I will be back in time. He might be so busy right now on his phone with thumbs that he meant won't be. Please pass that on. I'm sorry. And it's Magic Bollocks' fault. So I think he won't make it tonight. I'm pretty sure that's what he says. Scott said no worries. So we'll see.
Oh, fuck.
And yeah, sorry about that. His life happens. And right now everyone should know he's getting prepared to take a 17-week course. And he's got many things to do, take care of, get ready for. I'm not sure what it was, if it was in conjunction with that or what, but because I don't really pry in people's business. But I know that something came up.
Oh dear, RPI,
sorry about that.
Till the end, mate.
Oh fuck.
Yeah, we got like 20, 30 minutes left on us. It's getting the one thing I like about the 25th. Oh yeah, I'm at 2 hours now and I shut down. So I may go until 6 o'clock. I always say 20 minutes, gonna go till 6 o'clock. But the one thing I do like about after Christmas, the 25th, is that the days start to get longer and longer again. Right now it's still light out. and just December 20th, it's dark at 5 o'clock. It's dark at about 4:40. The shortest day of the year here is 6 hours long. Yeah, 6 hours long, I believe. 18 hours of dark, 6 hours of light. That's our shortest, and that lasts for, I don't know, 3-4 days. But it is that, of course, everybody knows how the signals work on the flat Earth as the sun. Anyway, I'll tell you all about it later.
Basically, what you've just described there, Mr. Ogre, is pretty much Scotland 12 months of the year. I think I've always thought that it's a sort of like a joke on God's part, which is nobody wants to see Scotland. And it's probably the reason why, they're so angry up there, because of the fact that it's just such a horrible place to live. And, they're punishing their own, such as, Count Dankula and Goodfella, just because of the fact they're Scotsmen who are desperately trying to find some happiness in their lives, and they can't stand it.
So you think they're up there saying this, man? You think they're just saying, let those Muslims come on in here. If they can handle the weather and live here with us.
Well, you think about it. After the 20 minutes of daylight they get up there on a daily basis, you won't be able to see the muzzies anyway. You only be able to smell them after it.
Are they above the 45th parallel?
That's a very good question, isn't it?
If they are, they're right on the same level with us. We're right at the 45th here. I'm about 40 miles south of the 45th parallel. I'm right on it. Which, for anybody that don't know, that's halfway in between the North Pole and the equator.
I think they might actually be below it.
They're well above that. They're well Scotland's
above that.
Well above that.
Is it? I don't know. I've never checked.
Let me look.
Scotland's on the parallel of the Rockies.
Well, that would be below. That would be below it. Let me look. I can look very easily. 45th parallel. 45th.
Well, our Mountain of Knowledge 58 has said that they are. And, he's like never been wrong, is he?
Who's that?
058. He's saying it's north of 45.
He's usually got it. That's for damn sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'll show you this, though. In the map of Michigan, it's just, you can see, that's what I'm telling you, I'm not very far south. You can see all these. This is off of the 45th parallel. There's a great, huge, big potato farm right about here. It's right on. Half the farm's on one side of the 45th, half the farm's on the other side. Because one of the advantages of it, as well as getting those 18-hour dark days, we get 18-hour days of light in the summertime. We have a phenomenal growing season. Right up here at a little place called Paradise, Michigan. If anybody's ever heard the song called Record of Edmund Fitzgerald, that happened right on this tip right here. It's called Whitefish Point. This is Whitefish Bay. But up there, they get 19 and a half hours of sunlight at the peak and 19 and a half hours of dark at the peak. Anyway, let's look. Let's look together, shall we? Oh, no, I guess I ain't going to be able to. I'm trying to be funny. I'll look and see. So it's above. Well, Scotland sucks. What do you want me to say?
Do you know, I don't think you're going to get a single person on your panel or in the chat who are about to disagree with that.
Not right now. Not for what they're doing to Dank alone. So let's see. I can see it. Yeah, they're above it. You can tell. I backed way off, and you can still see, I think. You should be able to see it now anyway. You can still see that where these dots are, and we follow that line across. Yeah, they're way above it. I guess I didn't realize that. And this would kind of go like this.
UK is above it.
Most of the UK is.
Oh, that's disappointing. I just wanted another reason to pick on the Celts.
You get these breezes right off the ocean, so that's what does, because it's. Looking at this, you should be. It's right here. It should be as cold as it is here, but I don't think it was 30 below zero last week, boys. Here where I live. So
yeah, I think.
It hit minus 12 down here in Wales, South Wales.
Celsius and Fahrenheit. I'm sure you're talking about Celsius.
Celsius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's different.
No, we wish it was, Fahrenheit, because the thing is with the winters here is that it does get cold, obviously. We don't get major cold like you get, but it's just so bloody dreary. And, the days, like with today, it was just, overcast and raining a little bit, and then it was drizzle. And it's just, it doesn't fill you with much New Year cheer.
Well, what can I say about today where I live? It was like 18th century Whitechapel weather. It was absolutely perfect for murdering prostitutes.
Jeez.
Have you got your HGV license, RPR?
I thought they were going to do. Aren't they going to do away with that? Is that the license that lets you watch TV? No, I don't even know what it is. What is
no,
that?
I'm referring to
HGV
something.
knows heavy goods vehicles.
Yeah,
Oh, gotcha.
I'm referring to an incident about 10 years ago where we had a spate of prostitute. Where was that? Even Ipswich, wasn't it? That
With lorry drivers?
Yeah, lorry
Peter
drivers.
Sutcliffe.
That's
no,
the number one clientele of prostitutes, I guarantee you, in this country.
No, not the Yorkshire Ripper. No, that's going back to the early 80s, isn't it? There was that bloke in Ipswich who was going around killing all them prostitutes about 10 years ago.
I don't know if it's the same there, but do you know what they call a prostitute here? What a trucker calls a prostitute here in the States?
Hooker?
No, they call them lot lizards. We would call them lot lizards.
Oh, lot lizards.
Lot where you park the truck, and then very rarely would I mean, I've seen these girls work now. I'd sit up in my truck sometime doing my logbook and then just sit there and unwind before we would jump to sleep or go get something to eat or something. And I mean, you'd see everything in the span of 2 hours at any given truck stop. Drug deals, prostitutes going from one truck to walk down 5, and you hear them on the mic. Here's a little secret. If you're in the United States of America, you happen to get a CB and you're in a truck stop and somebody says, I have some commercial entertainment. Would you like some? That's a prostitute. You'll hear that. You'll see some chick get up in a truck, and then like 6-7 minutes later, you'll hear a chick's voice say, hi, this is Tanya. Any of you truckers lonely, want some commercial entertainment? Hit me on channel 23. And of course, me being a pervert, I go up to 23, click, click, click. I'd be like, yeah, baby. And I see like a JB Hunt truck or whatever, like, yeah, baby. Yeah, you want to come and get up in my big rig, take care of me? I'm lonely tonight. I got 50 for you. I'm in this JB Hunt truck. And of course, I'm watching.
Oh,
the good old days, man. But you see everything go down in 2 hours. Drug deals, prostitutions, fighting people. I mean, that was a wild life, man. Only the last cowboys, I'd say, in this United States of America drive 18-wheelers. There's hardly no laws, seems like. And the truck stop, cops don't go in there. It's no-go zone. Oh, Lord have mercy. Why did I even say that? A nice stream. I mean, I'm worried about. I am worried about Scotland. I really, honest to goodness, am. It's maybe throwing me off a little bit. I hear about that because you said it best, Magic, and when we were talking in Discord, they're saying 200,000 here. When they say whatever number anywhere so far, they say any number you can times that by 3 at least. So it's going to probably be at least 400,000 to 600,000 are going to end up going there, and that's a country of, what did you say, 4 million?
Something like that. I can't remember the actual number, but it's only a small population.
Yeah, well, they might as well give their kilts up, give up their pipes, and just give it up. I told Dank.
The thing is what they, especially the Scottish politicians, have forgotten about is that the Scots do know how to fight, and if they get pushed hard enough, there is going to be all sorts of trouble. If they start moving hundreds of thousands into, the crap areas of places like Edinburgh and Glasgow, it is going to cause problems. And I know that the Scots are going to kick off and start causing problems. And they can't arrest them all, can they?
No, but I mean, I wonder when would that happen? When I see this go down, I don't want to just use Dankhill. There's so much going down in that part of the world right now. I wonder, how long is it going to take? It's it's going on here. These the powers that be want things to be a certain way, and they don't care what people want. It seems like that's what's going to happen there. You said it best. They want votes. They think they're losing votes. They'll import them.
Oh, of course it is. That's the same thing they're doing. Well, the same thing the Democrats was doing in the States, wasn't it? Especially with DACA. The whole idea of make these illegal immigrants' children seem like, because they were born here, they should automatically be allowed here. And they even called them, was it dreamers, wasn't it? No, they're illegals. Get out of the fucking country. You're not legally supposed to be here. Go away. But
I agree with that.
Give them the vote. And who do they tend to vote for? Oh, it's only the party that's currently running the country. So yeah, unfortunately, it is all just a scam to keep the current government in power, and it is an abuse of power, really. And I do hope, and I'm quite surprised actually, that there hasn't been more violence from the indigenous populations in the West thus far. Obviously, you've had a little bit in the States, but that's mostly been between two political factions, and it wasn't really much. But I really am surprised that the younger generations haven't been kicking off more with how much they're being screwed over. But I suppose if they're constantly being, fed from the cradle these days that they've got to love multiculturalism, they've got to think that allowing hundreds of thousands of new people into the country every year is normal, and if you don't agree with it, then you're some kind of bigot. It's going to be hard to break that mindset, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And you know what? They've romanticized the 60s and 70s, and they look back and it's like, oh, it was different back then. No. You had some Antifa-style people that would show up at the airport and spit on folks that just came back from one of the most horrific guerrilla wars ever waged by mankind, testing new and interesting chemical and otherwise weapons on everyone that was there. And spitting on, calling them baby killers and shit. Who gives a... I'm going to be honest. I don't care. Hate me. Maybe they killed some babies. Maybe after a little bit of time in the damn bush, having people sneak up behind them and cut their buddies' throats, seeing people getting blown to bits, and guerrilla warfare at its worst. Maybe they did murder a few towns of people. They shouldn't have been sent there. It wasn't their fault. But all that stuff is romanticized now and glorified. Like, oh, they were the Antifa of the day. And they didn't really do anything but cry and whine and point their finger and accuse the wrong people.
Yeah.
Pumpkin seeds. Mrs. Ogre roasts them herself and with olive oil in the convection oven. A little bit of pink Himalaya salt on there. Omega-3 fatty acids. Oh, man, it's so good. Good stuff in there.
Anyway. I have to make do with cat biscuit.
With what?
I thought you were going to point that.
I said I got to make do with the cat biscuits.
No, I thought Ogre was going to follow our up with you can purchase these for $4.99.
Oh,
I didn't realize he was turning this into the Alex Jones show.
No, you can't buy them. You'd have to come and visit, or I don't know. You can't buy them. We don't sell them.
Yeah. No. What kind of extra ingredients are in them that you can see in the very small print you're going to read with 2 sets of bifocals?
None in those. We get raw. We get raw from a place called Family. Oh, what is it? Country Life Homes. We get our steel cut stuff. My wife just loves steel cut oats. I personally, this is my opinion, porridge. Like oats, oatmeal. I mean, that's what you give somebody that did something real bad. Like they're murder and rapist scum of the earth. No question about it either. Can't be somebody that even still pleads their innocence. They have to be known by a shadow of a doubt. And then you make them eat that for breakfast. Otherwise, no free individual, that hasn't done something horrific like that should be subjected to eating a bowl of, I call it goat meal, not oatmeal.
Why not?
I think of Oliver Twist. Oliver Twist.
It's substance for life. That's all you need.
It's the most god-awful thing. Porridge is the most god-awful thing on earth. Any kind. The 7-grain reds. Ugh.
But it's what you need to live. It's the basic needs for life.
Oh, I'd eat it if I was starving.
Live it.
Yeah, I'd eat it if I was starving. I'd be grateful for it if I was starving. Until that day, I'm going to pass.
We do know you can eat pretty much any form of animal food these days, or in the West anyway, in the UK, because they now all have to be fit for human consumption. Don't ask me
before
why.
It gets taxed. Before it gets taxed.
Well, I very often look in the tin with the cat food in, and I do find myself wondering how desperate I would need to be to actually want to tuck into that whatever in a chunks of. It looks like somebody's actually taken something I deposited several nights ago and cut it into squares and stuck some decomposing gravy over it, and then I've got my cat to somehow think it's wonderful food.
You'd eat it in 5 days, and within 7 days, you'd eat it, and it would actually taste delicious. And if you ever survived it and was back in a situation where you wouldn't have to try it, you'd probably find yourself craving it once in a while. That is the psychology of that kind of thing. Within 7 days, the human mind, it changes some things, and some things turn off. We have something Dr. Garcia found out called taste aversion, and it's what they use it out west here for coyotes and wolves and all kinds of animals. They'll poison a carcass just enough for predators when they eat it to be very, very sick. If you've ever eaten something and got food poisoning and now you can't stand the smell of it, that's taste aversion. Been so drunk on a particular kind of booze, now you used to like it, now it's like, ooh, can't even stand the smell of it. Taste aversion. Oh, anyway, I just ramble on about some dumb shit. That was I could go geeky off.
I'm actually going to answer something Binary's just brought up. He says that there's no reason ever to live on cat food. Baked beans and dried bread is far cheaper and lasts longer. Now, I remember my science teacher told me, I don't know whether this is true or not, but apparently you can live on just baked beans and Guinness. Those two will give you all the nutrients you need. Although apparently they ain't particularly the nicest people to live with.
I don't know if, because smells bad. But I'm not sure if, as long as there'd be some vitamin C, and I'm sure that the amino acids would all be there. I'm not sure, actually. I know one thing, though. If you'd add broccoli to that you would. It's that broccoli is a superfood. Either one of the things mentioned is, I know neither one is a superfood. In combination, maybe. But you got broccoli. You have honey. You could eat nothing but honey, and you would live. And honey contains everything the human body needs to live. They made a Deadhead beer years ago. It's like $8 a beer. It tasted like horse shit, but it said right on the label, you could drink nothing but drink that beer, and you never have to eat anything.
The thing is, though, is that even if it was possible, and I'm sure it probably is, because I'm assuming it was an actual, science experiment that somebody had undertaken, but why would you? Because not only will you stink to high heaven, but your palate will be so bloody boring. Half the fun of having different meals each night is that you might say that there's something you particularly like on a Wednesday, so you're looking forward to Wednesday. If it's just going to be beans and Guinness every single day, bloody how boring is that? Yeah, going out for a meal must be boring as fuck as well.
I eat beans and rice about 3 times a week.
Boredom is only a concept.
True. So all you do is eat? Is that all you do? Is eat porridge, RPR? Is that what you're telling us?
No.
Cheese on toast.
No, I've actually got a rounded regime because I'm a single bloke, and morning is a corn cereal of a very famous make in the UK. My lunch tends to be bacon or sausage. And my evening meal may consist of, it can vary from pot noodle.
I was waiting for that to come up.
To corned beef or spam or something like that.
Corned beef, eh?
Yeah, it's my evening meal that actually varies. My breakfast.
Is it fried corned beef?
Yes.
Oh dear.
Yeah, so I can get my amino acids and all that in with it. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Now, answer me this, RPR. My grandmother, very much a Welsh woman from the coal mining valleys. Now, she's always referred to corned beef as corn donk. Now, I don't know whether she's got that from where she came from, or is it just because of her Alzheimer's, or whether she's just a word she made up. I've tried for years to find out where it came from because she can't remember.
Well, during the period of time between 1784 and some latter date, there was a shortage of cows in the Welsh area. So, but there was an abundance of horses and ponies. And of course, I'm not sure if you know, donkeys are like a hybrid of horses. And so, of course, veal being the horse side of it, and donkeys' meat was referred to as the latter.
Are you trying to imply that Findus
Yes,
has been up to it?
yes, we had fucking donkeys. Okay, yes.
Yeah, you were saying that basically Findus has been up to it for a longer time than they admitted to.
Yes, basically, yeah. We were eating fucking donkey meat.
Oh, you monsters.
Gotta eat.
Oh, come off it. Look, we were eating whale meat.
Yeah.
Whale meat is, oh man, that makes me think of Moby Dick, where Staub's like, he kills a whale and he tells the doughboy, he says, "Go cut me a steak out of this small," like a big fatty part behind that. Anyway, that was supposed to be really good. I've never had it. Is that bad, eating whale meat?
Whale meat is absolutely gorgeous. It's on a par with conger. And if you've never had conger eel meat, absolutely gorgeous until someone tells you it's from fucking conger eel.
What is it?
Conger?
No idea.
Have you ever heard of a murray eel? It's a sea eel.
Oh, an eel. Okay, I know what that is.
Yeah, it's a very big sea eel, very fucking big. The taste is between cod and haddock. It's absolutely gorgeous, but if you don't know what a conger eel is or a murray eel is, they're very fucking dangerous. They're on the par of sharks, basically, for the eel community. Yeah, they are very nice to eat.
Huh. Well, I've had eel. I think eel and sea urchin are the only two things I've ever eaten out of the sea that won't kill you that I didn't like. I love sushi, love any kind of caviar, frog eggs, frog legs, eat oysters, mussels, clams, scallops, raw, half shell, whatever. But man, I couldn't. It was eel. I don't know why either. It's just something I can't stand it. I'm sure if I had the Welsh version, I'd bloody love it. But
I think the off-putting thing is the fact that it's eel, and eel tends to simmer up snakish.
But I don't mind snake. Some snake. I don't mind like cottonmouth ain't bad.
Yeah. Because snake tastes like eel. Cooked chicken.
Nah, I've heard people say that. It tastes more like if you had alligator, it tastes more like alligator leg meat, like the dark meat of an alligator, even though the snake meat that I've had is pretty white. The problem with snake meat that I've experienced is it's hard to get it good, because to do it right, it should be cooked very hot, very quick. And if you overcook it, it ain't worth the shit. You can't not chew it. You would have to cut it into pieces that are good enough to swallow. You could chew it all you wanted, but it would not change the shape or size of that piece of snake if you overcook it. But if you cook it right, man, calamari. It's just same thing with that, right?
Like calamari. Calamari is something you've got to cook just right at the right time.
Look, you boys are gonna get me sucked in, and it is time for tea over here.
I know we haven't. Interesting, really, have we?
Pardon me?
We haven't touched anything interesting, really. That could ooh, that's controversial or anything. It's been a kosher evening.
Oh, I don't know. Ogre was culturally appropriating an Arab judge earlier on. That's pretty controversial.
Let's not bring anything back up right now, boss. I was just going to go with that. What he said. We can just. I remember the stream.
And I'm quite offended by what you were just talking about. It was absolutely disgusting.
What's that? The noodle ready meals?
No, they're good in an emergency, Mr. Ogre. Trust me.
Okay.
This is ideal for a man who's on his holiday and his missus is too bone idle to make him a sandwich if he's not working. So says make something for yourself, and something more complicated than putting the kettle on. And even buttering bread, that's too much hard work at 1 o'clock in the afternoon when you've just got up.
1 o'clock in the afternoon. I've been up fucking 10 hours by that point.
I know, mate. But the thing is, though, when you're on your holidays and you don't get to bed till like 2 or 3 because you've been up doing this, and then you spent 2 or 3 hours talking to Common Sense afterwards, and then you get moaned at because you woke somebody up when you went to bed because you turned the light on, and just another fine day in this household, I'll tell you.
Oh, we have an abundance of food here. My wife, she loves to cook and bake stuff. So when she ain't working, and she works 12-hour shifts, so she makes her own schedule. I don't know how you can beat that, but she writes her own schedule, works 12-hour shifts, and only works 36 hours a week. That means, do the math. So she gets it up in 2-week blocks. She works it out. So she will work, 4 days, whatever, and then have 6 days off. Work 3 days, have 4 days off. Work 2. That's how it goes the whole time. And boy, when she's home, man, it's just a whirlwind. We got all these chickens, so anything I don't eat, within reason. She ain't making all this food for the birds, believe me, but whatever's left, it goes to the birds. So I reap the benefits of that. There's always homemade bread and some kind of. Right now, there's asparagus soup, cream soup, but it's there's no real cream. You'd have to have it's good shit. Anyway, I'll ramble. Good stuff, boys. I'm out of here. We're talking about food. I blame you all. And then Magic Bollocks is going to do a recap after we were told that nothing controversial was said on this entire stream. Magic Bollocks. He's either being very kind or he is very flexible on what he considers.
Oh, I'm very flexible.
Well, the thing is that you got to remember, there's somebody will always be offended by something. So it doesn't matter what you talk about, you're going to trigger somebody. So technically, the second we come on, even Ogre's song might have triggered somebody. Because maybe a Scotsman might take offense to a non-Scotsman doing a Scots song. You just don't know. So technically, we're always controversial. So in that case, we may as well just say anything.
When they started, they scattered like cockroaches with a light turned on. There was only one person here for the first 15 minutes. I think it was a song.
Well, there you go.
No, but that's it, boys. 058, yeah, very funny binary surfer. I see all your comments. Everybody's great. Everybody's funny. I actually appreciate it when people find the time to mock me and make fun of me in the chat. Endearing, maybe. I don't even know how to put it. And in my humble opinion, I guess it wouldn't matter if the person hated my guts. But it wouldn't matter. I just think it's cool. So thanks a lot for that, everybody. It makes fun of me. And says nice things in between things, but it is time, boys. Because who was it? 058. It was like killing me with the food talk. Yeah, I've already died. I know what's out there. That soup I was mentioning and some other things. I'm gonna go eat it. One bad thing before we get our final word, boys. If you've ever noticed, or if you eat asparagus, some people can't stand it. I love it. When I ate this creamed asparagus, because it's such a huge quantity, like I'll eat a bowl of mostly just ground up asparagus with cream sauce, and it makes your pee smell terrible. So bad that it's hard for me to, I'm like, ooh, because it smells like sulfur, really. And it does create a sulfuric reaction in your kidneys that maybe I'll talk about some other time, but I'm not going to nerd out now. So what do you boys think? Do you have time? Should you, RPR? I know Magic Bollocks will have a final word. But any last things to say about Muslims invading Scotland or the length of the finger that's being put somewhere or anything like that? We can do that, and then I'm leaving, man. I'm going to have me tea and see y'all Friday.
The only thing I've got to say is hashtag free Count Dankula.
Is that honest to goodness it?
No, that's not my final word. It's just a case of,
I was going to say, we'll let RPR go first, and then you go. But I was going to say, all right, wow. I was nerving myself up for a jolt.
All right, all I can say is, if Dank ever goes down, and I don't think he will, because he's going to cross the borderline where the legal system is going to throw themselves into a shit spot where they've got to let him go because they can't come to a conclusion in the legal time period where they've got to convict him. He's gone to court, and now we're almost 18 months into that period. And if they don't convict him within the 80-month period, he can walk free. But I'm hoping, well, I think they're hoping that they don't realize that. And basically, if Dank does walk free, he will, by the way. It's just going to show the SJW side that everything's fucked up, and they're going to scream and they're going to just do a fucking "we hate Trump" type thing with Dankula and just yabbering now. Anyway, Dank is going to be a free man. I'm confident of it. And that's all I'm going to say at this precise moment, because I'm just yabbering because my brain has just gone fried. Over to you, bollocks.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with that. I don't honestly can see how they can convict him with what was coming out of the trial. Because if they are actually trying to convince the judge that it was some kind of what do they call it, when subversive messaging in a video where he is trying to teach his pug to be a Nazi, that the pug is just a cute and adorable way of turning the viewer into supporting the Fourth Reich. I just cannot believe there's anybody out there apart from, well, even the mentally retarded probably would even be able to work out that that is total and utter crap. If you cannot differentiate between a simple joke between either Basil Fawlty doing the goose stepping in front of 4 Germans, or Mel Brooks's wonderful producers and the not so wonderful remake, towards, say, a group of people actively forcing Jewish people onto trains and then transporting them to death camps, which, to be honest, when you look at it from that context, probably isn't that funny. If you cannot differentiate between the two, A, you should not be a judge, and B, you shouldn't actually be allowed out in public anyway, because you're probably a danger to yourself and to others. The whole point of them arresting Dank seems to be the Scottish government's trying to send a message to everybody in Scotland: we're in charge and we will not tolerate any dissidents. So having fun and poking fun, especially upwards, will not be tolerated. And even though I believe, like RPR does, that he will eventually get off, his punishment will be everything he's had to go through in the last year and a half, because he probably hasn't been able to hold down a job. He certainly wouldn't be able to get one. And it puts his whole life on hold while all this nonsense is going on. It's not like a bit of drama on YouTube or on Twitter where it's just between those people. It's gone through the whole mainstream media. People know who he is now. So it's not like something he can just, hide away from. It's common knowledge. I even believe that even mainstream comics have been talking about it. I use the word comic very loosely with comedians these days, but it has actually been brought up, and it has got their attention that if somebody who just has a small YouTube channel, although it is growing substantially, can get into trouble for doing something that is blatantly a joke, then what's to stop them next time they do a TV show not ending up with the policeman at the door the day after the show goes out saying, we had a complaint from somebody that they found your show offensive and thus we're charging you with a hate crime. It's getting to that point now. And obviously there's been 2 Scottish YouTubers that I'm aware of, Dankula and Goodfella, who have both been arrested for supposedly perpetrating hate crimes. In Dankula's case, the infamous video, and in Goodfella's case, it was sending out the tweet when they had the Scottish Pride event on, him saying, where's a Muslim when the truck when you need one? Now, Obviously, that can be offensive to some people, but it's obviously a joke. He is not actually some kind of secret member of the Muslim Brotherhood saying, please come and kill a load of homosexuals. And until we can get back to a sense of understanding what is just basic fun versus a state that's trying to get more and more totalitarian, things are going to get worse. So what I employ everybody to do is to say no. We're not going to tolerate this. We want our basic freedoms kept intact, and we will not surrender any more power to the state. And any more power the state tries to take from us, they're going to have to do it by force, because we're not letting you have any more. I don't know how we're going to do it, but we've got to do it before we won't have any rights left. So, if anybody's ready to take up arms, I shall certainly be at the back willing you on. Anyway, thanks everybody. Great stream as always. Thanks RFR for coming on. And thanks to everybody in the chat. Usual, you know, despicable humor. That's what I like to see. And as always, big thanks to Mr. Ogre. Great channel, mate. And as we were talking about before, it's going to grow. It's going to become successful. Everything takes time, mate, but we're getting there. Good night.
No, everything's a success if it meets your personal expectations and standards. And it does. Some, not always. Not always. But most of the time. And did tonight. It was great. It's good to have you boys on. But I think I'll probably try to be brief, 4 minutes or less if I can. I just did a big bong swat. I'm going to be Hillary Clinton here in a second and cough up a gigantic goblin right in front of you. But I can't stress it enough that you have to consider the grasshopper and the ant. And the ant toiling all summer long with the grasshopper playing his violin on a blade of grass saying, come on, Mr. Ant, I've got a jug of wine over here. I've got some good food. Just take a break with me. And the ant saying, I can't. It's winter's coming. And then you have to see that grasshopper knocking on the door of the ant's house while the ant is doing basically the same thing and would enjoy a little bit of violin music. He's there with his jug of wine and eating his stores. But he has to say, no, Mr. Grasshopper, I can't let you in because my family needs to eat. When is any high and mighty lord, lady, or otherwise, I don't know what these people are. I know they're no longer the aristocracy that run your country, but they sure do act like it. When are they going to do what's right? When are they going to take the advice of this simple parable, simple fable? It's some of the... if your house is in need, you can't help someone else with theirs. If there's a hungry person in your country, you can't feed another. I have such a huge problem with our humanitarian donations. Oh, the ogre's evil. He wants people to starve. No, I don't. But there's people starving in our country. If every last one of them had a complete meal 3 times a day. Now the housing and stuff, people to make mistakes. And I know this sounds weird and contradictory. That's on them. But the hot meal, we have it if we're giving it to other countries. If we don't have it, we don't have it. What makes a person evil if they believe that? That's what's being pushed right now. Think of the children. Then the children turn out to be 26 to 34-year-old men. Let in the refugees, and refugee means you're going across the border from your country into one adjoining it because there's a war on. If you go further than that, you could be all kinds of different things. Unless you're a political refugee, I don't know any other use for that word. I believe what they're calling them now is economic migrants, something to that effect in the UK. Whatever you call it. Take care of our own country, then maybe we could help the world. But why? I'm going to just echo one thing before I say my final goodbye. Don't give up your liberties. No call to arms, and everyone knows that Magic Box is probably not going to go shoot anybody if they get a little militia together. But a call to readiness, a call to awareness, a call to, hey, look what's going on. be aware of it and point out hypocrisy, point out these problems where you see, if you're Scottish and you would like to see a free Scotland, man, stand up for Dank in any way you can. I know he says don't write letters, so I'm going to stick with that right now till he's found guilty or whatever. So anyway, I'll ramble on forever. Thank you, boys. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Common Sense Guy. Hope that you've taken care of whatever business that it is, that you're very safe, that you're very happy. Everything is going the way that you want it to go. And as always, folks, remember, be good to your friends, be good to your family members, be good to your loved ones. Be quick to say you're sorry. Be even quicker to accept an apology, especially when that thing your friend, your family member, your loved one has done seems to be so huge, you'll never be able to forget about it. Because, constant viewers, at a time you think not, your friends, your family members, your loved ones, your life in Bonnie, Scotland will vanish.